The most popular bass fishing technique is probably the Wacky rig, but what if I told you there is a way to rig soft plastic worms that can catch even more fish? Today we will do just that by teaching you all about the Nico rig. We will be talking about all the gear you need, how to rig it up, when and where this will outperform a Wacky rig, and how to fish it so that you can catch even more fish on soft plastic worms just like this. So first up, we're gonna run through the gear that you need and how to rig one of these guys up, and then we're gonna take you right out on the water here and we're gonna show you all about this technique. The first thing you need for this technique is a spinning rod, and realistically, this is a very basic technique. It's one that you can start with no matter how experienced you are in fishing, and you probably already have the rod and reel to throw this thing. This rod right here is the Cashin Element Z2 Ned rig rod, and even though this is designed to throw Ned rigs, it's the perfect Nico rig rod for me as well. I can do a ton of different techniques with this rod. It is super versatile to do pretty much anything, and the reason being is the specs on this rod. This is a 6 foot, 10 inch, medium power, fast action. If you do not want to buy this rod or do not have this rod, if you're looking at any of your spinning rods you already have, what you want to look for is something that is in the 6'6" to 7 foot range that is a medium power, fast action. If you have a rod that's that, you already have the rod to throw the Nico rig. So you're ready to go with that right there. I like to pair mine up with a very good spinning reel, and the reason being is when you hook these fish, sometimes you're using lighter line or you're catching them around cover offshore, and if you're catching them around that cover and you have very light line, they might get some abrasion on it, and when they get up next to the boat, they'll try and pull hard. You need a very good drag to make sure they can do that. I run these Shimano Sedonas. They're like 80 bucks. They're amazing, budget-friendly spinning reels. And then I have mine spooled up today. We're using 15-pound test straight braid. This is the Cortland Master Braid. I'm trying it out for a little bit just to see how I like it. You guys know I'm always experimenting with different things on the channel before I actually share them with you guys and how I have my opinions of them, but I've been experimenting with this. I do have other spinning reels up here with my Suffix Revolve or 832 that I always fish, somewhere in that 10 to 15 pound range. Preferably a high vis color so you can tell when this bait is on the bottom. It's gonna fall very slowly, just like a Wacky rig, so you want that thing to be able to fall, watch the line go out, and know when that thing has hit the bottom. So preferably a high vis braid is going to help, and then I tie an FG knot into, today we're using 10-pound test fluorocarbon. We're fishing in some brush piles, some grass, some house foundations, all kinds of stuff out here. So I really want that abrasion resistance. The lowest I'll ever go with this technique is 8-pound test. I'm either using 8 or 10-pound when I'm using a Nico rig. I put about 15 feet of it on there and we're good to go. And then the rod, going back to this for just a quick second, that fast tip allows you to make a very quick and far cast, also be very accurate around cover. The benefit of this over a Wacky rig is you can fish it offshore like we're going to do, or I could get up here on the bank and literally skip bushes and laydowns and everything like that up there, all with the same technique. So being able to have that rod that's very versatile to do both, make a far cast and feel what that's doing down there on the bottom, or skip up there shallow and be very accurate is very important. And then that medium power gives you a good hook set with this hook that we're going to talk about here in just a second. So that is the rod and reel setup that you need. Next, you're going to need your terminal tackle. And with a Wacky rig, I use these VMC weedless Nico hooks. These things are amazing. I buy them in a size 1, not the 1/0. The size 1 is the better one. They have these 2 little fluorocarbon weed guards that tend to be very, very weedless, and it has a long shank with a pretty big gap here. So when a fish gets this, I'm getting a good hook set behind their jawbone and they're coming in the boat every single time. And then the other thing that I use are these VMC crossover rings. So these 2 pieces of equipment, if you have a Wacky rig, you already have that to go ahead and do your Nico rig as well. I use the exact same setup. I just use the straight channel to make sure it's parallel with my bait as opposed to the cross channel so that it's perpendicular with my bait like I would with a Wacky rig. And we'll show you all how to rig one of these up in just a second. But that is the base equipment that you need right there. And then to really make this thing a Nico rig, you need 2 other things. Besides your worm, you need a nail weight that we're going to put in the head here. So I have a nail weight in this worm right here. I like to buy straight lead nail weights because a lot of times these fish are going to throw these worms off or anything like that, and tungsten nail weights are pretty expensive, so I hate losing a bunch of them throughout the day. But any type of nail weight will work. I like the 1/8 ounce in lead. I can cut them in half and make them 1/16 ounce or whatever I need to do. Or you can buy them based on your size, like this is a 3/32 ounce tungsten that we're gonna be using today. That's all I had left in my box. I've been using a Neko rig a lot, and I've used pretty much all of my nail weights up. This is all I got left, a couple of them, and then that's it for the day. So we're gonna have to order some more. And then the worm is your last piece of equipment you need here for a Neko rig that's different than a Wacky rig. And there's two really ways you can go with this worm on your Neko rig. And you can fish a regular Senko like you would on a Wacky rig, and you can just rig it parallel and then throw a nail weight in there and you have a Neko rig. And I do like doing that. It will catch fish, but I've found that using more finesse style worms like this divine shaky worm here, or even like a trick worm or something like that, those skinnier, longer style worms tend to excel really well on a Neko rig over the heavily salted Senko style lures, mostly because this bulbous tail is gonna kind of kick up on the bottom a little bit once you get that down there, where if you're fishing a Senko, it's probably just gonna fall over because that whole bait has a lot of mass to it. But also you can Neko rig literally anything you want. You can put a craw on there, you can put a fluke on there, whatever you wanna put on a Neko rig works just great, but I really like fishing these finesse style worms on there. They tend to get me the most amount of bites. They're very subtle in the water. Finesse fishing, this is really when I'm applying this technique, trying to get the most amount of bites. So a worm like that is going to do great. And then for color, I really just pick whatever is matching the body of water for the day. So a black and blue in some dark water, a watermelon red or green pumpkin in some cleaner water. Today we have some pretty clear water, so we're fishing watermelon red today. And as always, if you'd like to check out any of the gear talked about in today's video, it will be linked in the description below to pick up anything you want to help support the channel through those links, or you can even book a guide trip with me down there as well. But for now, let's show you how to rig one of these up and get to fishing it. Now, to rig one of these up is super simple. It's not much different than a Wacky rig other than you're going to insert a nail weight. So basically I'm going to take my divine shaky worm that I have here. I'm gonna go ahead and thread this nail weight right down in the top of the head, feeding it in until it is all the way inserted into the head of this bait and nice and hidden there for me. Now, once I have that already threaded on there, what I'm going to do is take these G7 pliers that I use all the time just to help me open up this crossover ring that I use. All you have to do is go ahead and put this right over the ring. Once you get it onto the ring itself, you just squeeze it, it'll go ahead and open it up, and you can go ahead and just feed this bait on here right to where you want it and then let the ring off into that place. I usually like to cheat it about 1/3 of the way towards the head. Since that's where you're gonna have that weight, I wanna have it closer to the head so that everything is in one compact package up there. And this is a size 4mm ring that we're using today for these divine shaky worms. I've been using a 5, but I found that they throw that off a little too easily. So I started using a 4 to get a little tighter grip on that bait and keep it on the hook a little bit longer. And then once you have that all rigged up like that, the last simple thing that you have to do is go through the parallel channel on your crossover ring and just lay your hook right in there and you're good to go. And I like to put the hook point towards the tail of the bait. Because you have a weight in it, the head is going to be sitting at the bottom, which means that your tail will be pointing upward along with the hook point if you have the hook point pointing towards the tail. So you can go ahead and get a much better hook set in the roof of their mouth, behind their jawbone, and making sure they're coming in the boat. Now that we have it all rigged up and ready to go, let's jump up on the front deck, show you where and how to fish this, and catch some fish along the way. We're gonna be fishing 2 different types of areas today, and that is why this thing is so much more beneficial than the Wacky rig. We're in the post-spawn period here. These fish are no more than probably 2 or 3 weeks off of the beds so far, and really starting to feed up for the summer. And that being said, there's fish scattered all over the place. So you can see right now we're fishing out here in the open, and we're fishing some offshore stuff. I have some bluegill beds on some stumps, some house foundations, and other hard bottom areas that we're gonna be fishing out here. And these are in 10, 8, 12 foot of water in that deeper range, where you could never fish a Wacky rig down this deep. But there's also a lot of grass up right now because the summer is here, and those spots up there in 4 to 6, maybe 8 foot of water on that grass edge, they're hard bottom areas and bluegill beds up there as well. And a Wacky rig is a bait that works exceptional in those areas or comes through that grass really well compared to some of the other baits. We've been fishing like Carolina rigs and drop shots out here, but when you get up there, you can no longer fish that. So this is like a one and done type of bait for me, where I can throw it out here offshore, or I can get up there shallow and throw it as well, and it'll work no matter how deep, how shallow. If there are fish in the area, they're gonna be eating this Neko rig. It has been one of my favorite techniques to fish as of recently. Now for a retrieve here, we're gonna be fishing this hard bottom area right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just throw my bait out, and I know this is gonna take a while to get to the bottom. This is where I really like to have that lime green braid, but I'm gonna let this thing sink down, and you can see I'm still standing here. This thing's gonna take a little bit to get to the bottom, but I know exactly where I wanna cast. I've already graphed this spot. And then when I'm ready to start my retrieve, the first thing I'm going to do is reel up my line till I'm tight with the bait, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and shake it a little bit and see if anything had picked it up on the fall. This bait falls so slowly that those fish can see it coming down to their bottom where they're sitting, and sometimes they'll actually hit it on the fall. A lot of people are gonna throw football jigs, Carolina rigs, stuff that falls really fast and gets down to the bottom out here, that if you're throwing something that just slowly sinks down there, they don't see that a lot out here. So sometimes they'll be very interested just in that. And then if that doesn't work, what I'll then do is go ahead and just slowly drag it on the bottom, and that weight will stay face down and it'll slowly just tick along the bottom. And then I'm just gonna pull it through to feel all the different stuff down there. Whether you're in the grass, whether you're in the wood, whatever you're fishing, you can just feel it bounce along the bottom, and then I'll let it lay, and I'll just pull it and let it lay. Almost like you're fishing a drop shot Texas rig, whatever else you'd be fishing slow finesse bait, you just wanna pull it forward and let it lay, and that's gonna get you the most amount of bites. Now, if you think you're in a really good area and you wanna entice some fish into biting, you can shake it a little bit, and what that does, it'll kind of call those fish in from far away. I've seen them do it on live scope before. That bait will start to flare up off the bottom, and it'll do like that wacky motion, and then it'll have that flutter back down to the bottom, and they'll come from a long way away to take a look at that when you do that with this bait sometimes. So let's walk you through a cast one more time here. We're gonna pick out our spot. We're gonna make a cast where we want our bait to go. You can throw a long cast, short cast, it really doesn't matter. You just really want this bait to be near the cover. That is the most important piece of this bait, near the cover. That's where the fish live. That's where you're gonna wanna get the most amount of bites. You just wanna make sure it's in their face. Now I know this thing's now on the bottom because I just saw my line lay slack. I'm gonna reel up. I'm gonna shake and see if there's anything there. Nobody's home. So then I'm gonna go ahead and let it lay back down for a second, sink back down to the bottom. And then I'm just gonna slowly pull it towards me. And I can feel it's just kind of dragging on the sand down there. It's not really in anything good. So I'll keep dragging it a little bit more until I get it into the very good area that I wanna fish. And then once I get it in the good area, I'm gonna go ahead and just shake it in place and see if I can get one to bite it. So I can feel I'm in that log down there right now. And I'm just gonna shake it and try and entice one of those fish into biting. And that's all there is to it. You just really be thorough and pick apart these areas. Keep your bait in front of the fish where you know they're at. Don't fish just anywhere and cover water. While this does sink faster than a Wacky rig, it's still a finesse bait. It's still something you wanna keep in front of these fish. You're not searching for them with this. So find your spots, graph them, mark them, whatever you need to do. Find those areas where you know the fish live and pick it apart very thoroughly with this bait. And you can fish any depth water with the Neko rig like this. So let's bounce around on some spots and catch us some fish. There we go. Here's one. Got her. It feels large. Wow, he jumped real high. Oh my gosh. He's decent. That's a good fish. I love summertime fishing so much. It's like call your shot fishing. You find a spot like that, you just know there's gonna be one there. There's nothing beats throwing it down there and you just feel them go boonk, and they start swimming off with it. On the Neko rig in 10 foot of water, such an awesome fish catch. That's a pretty decent one. Look at how she ate that. Right down her mouth. Choked on it. Throw that back. Look at that. Beautiful largemouth. Awesome fish. On the Neko. We'll throw it back in, see if we can get another one. Got that one. Ooh, he's going crazy. Come here, buddy. That one's a little bit better. I like it. Hooked right in the roof of the mouth. That hook gets them every single time. That long shank gets them right behind the jawbone like this. You can see they get super well hooked and they are not coming off until you get them in the boat. And while the Neko rig is an amazing summertime bass fishing technique to catch a ton of fish, no matter if you're fishing shallow or deep, it will never replace the Wacky rig entirely. There's a time and a place for it, and if you want to see my favorite fishing tips about the Wacky rig, check this video out right here. Share this video with a friend, hit the subscribe button down below, and thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye, buddy.